March 18th, 2025. This is a review of my reading of Deuteronomy in chapter 21, verse 10, all the way through to, we stopped at verse 26. Or, I'm sorry, Deuteronomy chapter 26. That starts tomorrow. So we've got the end of 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 to review. They're not real long chapters, but boy, they sure seem random. We start out with some instructions on marriage to a captive woman. We've got the rights of a firstborn son, and they've got the story about a man having two wives but loving one and not the other, and being fair about it with the sons, and dealing with a rebellious son, which leads to stoning that person, the rebellious son. Various regulations which seem so jumbled up and mixed up that um, well, we see where it starts out with a hint of Jesus when it talks about if someone has committed a crime worthy of death and is executed and hung on a tree. Does that sound familiar? The body must not remain hanging from the tree overnight. You must bury the body that same day. For anyone who is hung is cursed in the sight of God, just as Jesus was cursed. And this is a reference. This is something that in when we see Jesus on the cross, it reminds us of this here. That's something. And then we see, hey, if you see your neighbor's sheep or ox, that's go take care of it. Don't ignore your responsibility. Take it back to its owner. And then we get into the direction that women shouldn't wear men's clothing and men not wear women's clothing. Don't act as the opposite sex. That's right in the middle there of that. And then we right after that we get if you happen to find a bird's nest in a tree and their young ones are eggs in it, but the mother, don't take the mother with the young. You can take the young, but let the mother go. So that anyway, there's something there. And then build a new house, build railing on the roof. So how does this all take together? When you plant new crops between rows of vineyard, um, don't plant different crops between your rows of your vineyard. Don't. But what does that mean? Don't plow with an ox and a donkey. That makes sense. Don't wear clothing made of wool and linen woven together. Again, okay. And then four tassels on the hem of your cloak. And then we get regulations about sexual purity, and it's it's the very odd little stories about that, about accusations and whether or not. And again, if we're acting as reasonable, decent people, we don't have anything to worry about these regulations. Um, we get regulations concerning worship and what happens if you have problems with your genitalia. Just and then how God, and then it goes into a whole section about how God blessed the Israelites as they came out of Egypt, even through attempted cursings. And then we've got a whole bunch of miscellaneous regulations that um, it starts out with every uh, uh, bury your poop. That's the gist of one part of it. And then it uh, just a lot of different things in here that all, don't be a prostitute. Don't offer any money to God for from being a prostitute. Don't charge interest on loans that you make fellow Israelites. All these things, they don't seem to have a flow, but there must be something there, and I don't know what that is. It just I'm not that deep, but I'm reading it and going, boy oh boy, why is this? That's the questions I have. Why does it flow like this? Um, it says you can eat your neighbor's grapes, but don't steal them. Don't steal in abundance. Um, then you get a whole story about a man marrying a woman and she doesn't please him. And again, and the man may issue a certificate of divorce. And again, this is the 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 Pharisees and Sadducees hit Jesus with this very section of scripture, and Jesus says, "It's you guys are. It's only because of hardness of hearts that you're allowed to issue a certificate of divorce. It's not But if you're living right and seeking God, that's the wrong way to live. That's the wrong way to do things or approach things. Then you get the whole a newlywed man should be drafted in the army gets a year reprieve from that. Kidnapping, don't take advantage of the poor, true justice. One of my favorite, or one of the, I guess not one of my favorite scriptures, but I've referenced chapter 25 verse 4 a few different times it seems like, but it says you must not muzzle an ox to keep it from eating or as it treads out the grain. So let people let those that are working eat and partake of the things they're um, they're working on. Then we got this weird deal about a man is supposed to take care of his widow's brother, and the regulations on that very specific. So um, then we get never forget the Amalekites. Never forget what the Amalekites did to you as you came from Egypt. They attacked you and were exhausted and weary and struck down those who were straggling behind. They had no fear of God. Therefore, when the Lord, as God, has given you rest from all your enemies in the land, He is giving you as His special possession. You must destroy the Amalekites and erase their memory from under heaven. Erase their memory, but never forget this. Interesting. And it could be just the way the interpretation reads. I didn't read any other version, but anyway, quite a plethora of different stories, lessons, just mixed all together. And again, there's got to be more of a reason what I'm seeing, but I'm not getting anything from more than that from it right now. But interesting. I have questions, more questions than answers.